Welcome back. Interesting times 3 weeks in. The vice president is mad at the National Security Advisor. The Secretary of State is miffed after coming out on the losing end of a White House power play. And accounts of the inner workings of the Trump West Wing often sound like a mix of House of Cards and Game of Thrones. For the record, though, the House Bannon and House Priebus say talk of a staff war is a media fantasy. Listen to this from New York Magazine. Steve Bannon says, I'm quite aggressive, and Reince is a calming influence on, hey, bang, bang. Here's how we ought to think about doing that. Priebus then says, we talk a lot, pretty much all day long, and then we communicate at night. Steve Bannon, a little more banter here until we fall asleep. So quickly on this one, you're laughing at the table. Smart on their part. There's all this stories, all these stories out there about these.
You hang up.
There's all these stories out about these two guys walking around the West Wing with, essentially in a knife fight, and they at least do an interview to say all is fine.
Which one is country and which one is a little bit rock and roll? Nothing says.
I can answer that question.
Priebus
Bannon.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying. Nothing says unity more than planted stories, not planted stories. Nothing says unity more than stories saying that there's unity, right? I mean, here's the thing. Does Trump mind all this?
Right.
I mean, I don't necessarily think that he does. As you can see, even with him, he loves it.
He had it during the campaign.
He doesn't
Controlled chaos.
Yeah.
He doesn't mind.
He lives off feuds. And look, he's happier to live in the world of feuds and controversy than he is litigating the policy details of the Gang of Eight immigration bill or the North Korean provocation or what have you. But look, White Houses do this. Is not just Trump, by the way. I can recall vividly, Glenn and I talked last week about this, in the spring of 2009, getting a call from a staffer to then White House Chief of Staff, Rahm Emanuel, saying, hey, I've got a good pitch for you that nobody else is really getting this angle. Rahm is actually getting along really well with Valerie Jarrett. And everybody's talking about this controversy, but the real story is that they're actually hanging out a lot.
God.
And on background, I can tell you they had dinner last night together. Just, okay,
Front page stuff, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. So, but
It was the Yahtzee.
We'll watch
Trump,
we'll watch how this sorts out. Bannon obviously is very aggressive. He's more nationalist. He's trying to seize the moment, do things as fast as possible. Reince is more establishment. Let's work with the Congress. Let's move toward the middle of the Republican Party. The one that is front and center that I think is still sort of crackling with tension, though, is I'm told the vice president was furious. He went out on national television after talking to the National Security Advisor and said that in these calls that Michael Flynn had with the Russian ambassador in the transition period, so President Obama is still in office, he was assured that the idea of sanctions and the whole debate about whether the United States would leave sanctions in place once Mr. Trump became president was not discussed. Mike Pence went on national television, was unequivocal. So there was no conversation about this. Now it turns out on those intercepts, there is some talk of sanctions.
There is some talk of sanctions, people corroborating that, and Flynn, of course, now saying he can't quite remember these conversations. Mike Pence couldn't have been clearer in his statement. Priebus couldn't have been clearer in that statement either. So you have a situation now where either Michael Flynn told a fib, an untruth, or he can't remember conversations that happened recently.
This trial goes to a jury of one, though.
Yeah.
The President of the United States. Is if the Vice President goes to the President and say, this is my credibility that this man has undermined?
Wait a second. Shouldn't this go before a committee of 535? We had Jason Chaffetz holding hearings, endless hearings and I'm not questioning the fact that he should have investigated what occurred at Benghazi. But we now have, on the record, really significant dissonances in an account that is important to national security. And as we saw at one of his town halls in Utah, he was chased off the stage.
Do your job. That's the oversight. Right. To both Obamacare and
so this
and
is ultimately going to ratchet up pressure on the Congress. I don't know how many more of these you can have before the Congress is actually, Republicans in the Congress are going to face some pressure to actually.
There are investigations underway, the Senate Intelligence Committee and the other investigations on Capitol. My question is, does the president wait?
Yeah.
Does he, if those investigations are going to lead to something damning about the National Security Advisor, does he wait or does he try to get out ahead of it?
I think the thing about Trump is, despite his "you're fired" tagline, he doesn't necessarily like to fire people, right? So we'll have to see. I mean, Flynn has been loyal to him. They've been good friends on the campaign trail, so it's hard to see him doing that. It's almost like the chaos of everything. They don't want more chaos.
And he doesn't like capitulation either. I mean, remember the Corey Lewandowski example?
Right.
He waited weeks.
But real fast, this is a good test for Mike Pence, perhaps his first real big test. How much does he privately with the president try to sort of impose his will after being put in a really bad spot here?
Before we go to break, a lot of serious stuff here. Before we go to break, one of the people at the table here has become a regular on Saturday Night Live. Let's take a quick peek here.
Oh, gosh.
Glenn Thrush, New York Times, stupid hair,
Look, I just wanted to know what the president intends to do now that the appeals court denied your request to stop the travel ban.
You're testing me, big guy. Look, it's simple. If the appeals court won't do what's right, President Trump will see them in court, specifically the People's Court.
That isn't real.
You have the floor, sir.
That isn't real.
Good for the kids, right?
My kids love it. And I have to say, I have never worn the hat in the briefing room.
Never wore that.
But he
in the
used to
briefing
wear
room.
the hat all the
The,
time.
the hat's in the green room. We
Yeah.
should put that baby up on
Put
eBay.
the hat on, yeah.
All right, everybody sit tight. Our reporters share from their notebooks next, including more on the fight over who is the real power center in the West Wing.